Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, to make decisions, to conduct public affairs in the public, out in the broad view of everybody. We just thank you for a governance system where we can be like this. We ask for your blessing and we humble ourselves in front of you. Amen.
You want to take
Approval of minutes first.
had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting? Any additions, corrections?
I move to approve.
Second. Bob and Jim.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
Here's a-
Okay.
Josh will be next up.
Front center, Josh? Front
You're up,
center.
Josh.
I'm up, okay.
You just gotta make sure your screen transfers properly, otherwise Sarah might have to run back in.
Okay.
You're hooked up and everything, so.
Yeah, it seems to be, when I hooked it up, it looked like it was, like it moved. Let me see if it has me move the display settings.
He's hooked up.
Shows multiple displays on here. Let me see, duplicate.
HDMI.
This is about scanning, right?
Yes.
So while you're doing that,
HDMI one.
can anybody, what's the status of our clerk and their scanning? Cause clerk, there's no clerk stuff in here.
He's not doing the clerk scanning. She had somebody else doing it.
But
And I think her scanning, I think she's got her scanning done over there.
it is.
She's just waiting on
Should be a quick meeting.
the room to store it in. And bringing the records up, her records and stuff up from, Vern. Yeah. If we have any issues, maybe Sarah's listening, so she can come and help if we need it.
Okay, yeah, it's not letting me connect to it for some reason. Keeps kicking me out of the duplicate display option.
Sarah, can you come and look at that real quick? Sure. Let's try this.
There it is.
Got anything there? It says sharing.
Keeps kicking me back out of duplicate display. See if it works any different. Oh, there we go.
Got it?
Got it. Absolutely. All right. Okay, got this. So I'm Josh with US Imaging. Thanks for having me out this morning. Appreciate it. I think what we're looking at today is doing a couple different scanning projects. So one being for the commissioner records for the road books, as well as the meeting minutes. One for the auditors transfer books and plat map books. And then the other one for the surveyor's records books that they have in here. So a couple different things about US Imaging. What we do, we come on site, we scan everything on site, so nothing has to leave the county. So all the records stay here. The plan is to scan everything in color, and then we convert it to black and white images, PDFs, for the commissioner records, surveyor records. I think I don't know if they're going into PDF or TIFF is the industry standard. So The commissioner books, the plan is to OCR the books to make them fully searchable. So you'd be able to just type words in using Adobe Acrobat, which I'll demonstrate here. You can find keywords, streets, names, meeting, agenda things that are in there. Be able to just type them, even in the handwritten books, you'll be able to just type it, it'll find it in the handwriting as well. So that's something that's pretty amazing. We're using AI technology to do that. So a little bit about that. We're using our AI platform is built off OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. We use a private tenant server of that, which means it's all private. So none of the data is being added into the language model. It's just being used. The language model is being used to convert the data, the handwriting, the text into data. 5 minutes after everything's approved, the data's wiped from the system. So it doesn't sit in there. It doesn't collect in there. It's not added to anything. So we're using Microsoft Azure servers to do that work. Everything is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, which is independent auditing of the security of all that. So it's all independently monitored security wise to ensure I can provide that to IT as well if they require it. In our conversations, we had talked about there was a system that the county was using to find data, images, things like that, but they weren't sure if this was going to go into that. So I'd suggested if the county had a full version of Adobe Acrobat, that you could use Adobe Acrobat to search across multiple PDF files to find the data that you're looking for. So I can kind of demonstrate this with the full version of Adobe Acrobat. There's an option in here too for advanced search. So you just edit advanced search. It will ask you what folder you would like to search in. I want to search all PDF documents in the specific folder that we're looking at. And so I can search, basically any terms. So Adams obviously is going to be in quite a few, but it will go through that folder and it will show us every single PDF that has, Adams, there's probably going to be a ton of them. But it will show us every instance of that word. We can choose to do just whole words only. So if you're looking for specific things, you can tailor it down to just the things that you're looking for. If you're looking at broad scope things that may be spelled a couple different ways, you can enter multiple items in there to search. You can do exact case only. Any type of search function that you would need, you can use Adobe to do that. And the county already has this full Adobe Acrobat. So this is something that's pretty easy to use. Once you find the instance of it, because there'll be a lot less than Adams, you can basically just click on the PDF. It will bring up the PDF that has that data in it. So this is a handwritten document right here. The county will also get a copy of all the color images that we scan. Now the color images are generally just for backup purposes, but you can utilize them too. So they're going to be full 16.7 million color images of every book that you'll have for backup. So God forbid something happened to the records, you will have full color backup of everything that you could theoretically digitally replicate the books. So it's another form of protection in case something happens to the books. These books are degrading every year. The acid's eating through the paper. This is a different type of paper than they make now. So it's susceptible to decay and things like that. So this is a really kind of a new way of looking at things, searching for documents. It doesn't require you to have a full-blown database system.
So when you did that search there, of course, Adams would be in a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed none of those documents have a title on them. So there's going to be, is that the way it would be? Is so ultimately, there's still going to, some of those searches would probably still have quite a few documents. Are you going to have to go through each one of those documents?
Yeah, we can name them. So what we can do is we can take the meetings. So in the commissioner meeting books, they're going to be grouped together by meeting date. The idea would be to index them by date. Then when you see the list of images come up, it would be by meeting date. It wouldn't just be by book and page, because that's
so
kind of
would have a title, and that's part of this bit.
Exactly. They wouldn't have a title. The title will be the date of the meeting, and then you would have to go into the meeting to see what they're talking about in reference to that. But they'll be grouped together into documents. So if a meeting is 5 pages, those 5 pages will be together. You won't have to go cycling through.
What about the other ones? Will they have titles as well?
Yeah, like the road books will have titles. The commissioner meeting minutes will, as far as the auditor's records, the transfer books are generally book and page because that's how they're searched. They're going to be in order of township/city and then year. So each township and city within Adams County will have its own book for a specific year. And that's how we'll break those down for the transfer books. We've done projects for probably 20 to 25 auditors in the state of Indiana. So we understand how to do the transfer books so that you can search them. The plats are the same way. The maps are going to be indexed by the way they are in those books, which is, I think, city, township, within the county. So they'll be done like that. The surveyor's records are going to be different. We're going to have to discuss how those are going to be named. But all of these naming conventions and formats are included in the pricing that you have before you.
And what about, so are these doing searches at a kiosk here, at the clerk's office, or we're not, clerk's office, wherever it's at here?
Mhm.
Or can people go online and do these searches, or?
The online functionality is going to be depending on if the county has something that would be able to do that. This does not include any software that would be going online. You could theoretically do it on the county's website, but that would be something IT would have to work out.
Okay, so this would be a local search at a kiosk at.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it would be. I mean, there's a lot of softwares out there. The county may have something already that does that. I know Tom has a service called DocsPop that they do that through DocsPop for the recorder's records. I don't know if that can be utilized for it. I don't know if it's fully searchable or if it's just folder structure and file name. That would be kind of a question for DocsPop, but that would be the county's responsibility for finding something like that.
So like in these numbers, it involves scanning the images and then you index all the images so you can retrieve them by book and page, by a party name.
Party names, no, because they'll be fully searchable as far as the road records and the commissioner's records. Those will be fully searchable, just kind of like I demonstrated here. The transfer books, like they'll be broken down just by basically whole book. So it'll be the township / city name, the year. And then the pages will be, I think alphabetically within those books. The surveyor's records will be different. They'll be generally doc type. And then we are basically going to try to replicate however he searches for those records currently. We're going to replicate that digitally. So whatever way, like Tom's records have index books. The index books reference the book and page. So you have to index the book and page to be able to find the document you're looking for. So we will replicate that digitally so that he can do that so that the county can find those records.
So like in the auditor's office, if somebody the public comes in and searches, they would need their own public workstation for them to use a computer.
They would need some, or they would ask the county employee to do it, but yes, they would need a workstation to be able to access it. Wouldn't be anything robust it would need, but yeah, you would probably need a public workstation for that.
So you would want that, wouldn't you, Tony?
I would imagine. On the plat books, that requires a little more explanation. I know Mark would know and Corey would know because they have title companies. As far as making those plat books where they're editable through Adobe in real time so that they are kept up like they have been all these years. If you want to explain that process and why that would be a little more expensive to do.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, so for the plat books, they're being updated every day or every how often they're updated. So the plan for those is because you have a full version of Adobe, you can edit those images. So you can edit those images, you can add what you need to add, you could essentially draw color where color needs to be. You would be able to edit the images to keep up on the changes that happen with those maps as it's going on. I know currently you have one person that's doing that, and then there's another person that kind of does it every now and then. But that would be something that would need to be trained and kept up on how to do that to keep everything current, because the books are changing. Unlike any of the other records, the maps are changing constantly. So, but they can be edited in Adobe. You can draw lines, you can, put color on there if need be. You can do all those things within Adobe. To keep them.
And are these things, if a title searcher were sitting in Corey's office, could they access this from their office? Is there a process where they could do that?
Yeah, the county would be able to give them access. That would be on the county. The county's responsibility to figure
Talk
out
to
online
IT and
access.
figure out what that looks like, but they
Exactly.
could save manpower, just do it from the office and not have to travel in and look at the.
Correct.
Plus the wear and tear on the plat books.
Absolutely, absolutely. All of this, I think that's a pretty important component to this, to do it, to get it done the right way, the way that benefits the county the most. Some type of online access portal should be talked about and figured out how the county is gonna do that. Because that will give you the most functionality out of this whole project for all the different types of records, having that online component. We do scanning, we generally do not do software. We have a piece of software that will eventually be able to do this, but it's not something that we generally use for projects specifically like this. This would be a little bit different. You wouldn't be able to edit anything in that. You wouldn't be able to really search as well as you would be able to search in a piece of software that actually has a database behind it.
You have to make sure that it's read only from the outside and so
Correct.
forth. And we had the committee set up on this initially, which IT was a part of. Steve was the commissioner. Tom was on it because he's used you guys in his office. Mark was on it. Clayton was on it. Brad. I think Lenny is on that committee, but wasn't able to make it to that particular meeting. If any of you guys, Mark, Steve, anybody, Mike Burling was also on it, who happens to be our plat book technician as well. If any of you want to speak up to council, let them know what you saw in that and the value that you see in what Josh is talking about, that would be great if any of you want to.
Yeah, especially on, at least as an initial project for sure, we would like to get the commissioner record books scanned.
And road books.
Okay, yes, because the commissioner record books is the record of when all of our county roads were improved. And it was a long process. And I don't know, how many records do we have? I know we did a test scan. How many records do you have that you can search right now?
I have quite a few on here.
Can you run a search for keywords on that?
Yes.
Can you put in free, FREE?
So while you're doing that, just to make sure I'm following. So this is who all, because we've already done recorder and we've already done
Look at them.
clerk, right?
Yeah, but there's
So now
He
this,
did not do clerk, but he did me.
US Imaging didn't do it.
somebody, we scanned, right? Clerk and recorder are scanned. Yeah, all the way back, right? So now this would be plat books, transfer books, surveyor, commissioner books.
And count, I think there's some council minutes on there too that.
And there's council included in that too.
After that, is there anything else that
For that,
needs scanned?
I think he said
And these are
outside,
individual projects.
we asked anybody else and we didn't come up with
Yeah,
anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the total, I'm just kind of trying to add all those attachments up.
Nothing.
It's like around 300.
Yeah.
I think for all of them,
$320,500.
that doesn't mean you have to.
306.
$320.
I think the first project would probably be
My district.
council commission books and the road books.
Couple
Yeah.
of them, multiple.
Down the line.
That's not all gonna be at one time.
You might not.
They're different stages.
And I'll
Stages. And also I will say, chances are that's probably a high quote, because when he looks at a book, he'll see, okay, that's 600 pages. But if they're only 500, then that price comes down a little bit. Because there might be 100 pages that there's nothing on.
You're saying the actual price is per page and we're estimating pages to come out as per page.
Because he counts books and he knows those books are usually, let's say, 600 pages. And if they're all full, that's fine, but if they're not all full.
Set up to highlight.
Or
It
if it's got
will
less
highlight
pages.
them. But
But
mine
mine-
is not
when I
set up
did
to
mine,
highlight. I'd have
it
to
was
go into
a
the settings and change all the
Got it.
settings back.
Okay, but that means road is in that.
The road is in this record right here, in all of these.
That's what I was-
This one says north and south road on the section. This one says the road to be is. So it will display it within this list.
So it doesn't highlight where it's at or.
It will. Mine is not set up to highlight, but in the settings, you can set up to highlight where the word is on the PDF as well. And like you kind of see right here, it will also tell you, once you click on the little drop down here, it will show you what the word, where the word is. and then kind of the string of where that word's at. So you'll be able to kind of narrow it down a little bit.
So the importance of the commissioner record books, going way back. So all of the roads in Adams County, 150 years ago were dirt roads. And at some point in time, roads were established by petition by landowners, predating some of the improvements. There's patchy records on that. But we're looking at records right now for roads back in 1862. I was looking at the other day, and those are the handwritten, cursive written records, and those are the actual serial records. When I say serial, it's in order of date of the meetings of the commissioners. So back in 1862, we have a record of the Board of Commissioners session. It's got the date, 1862, book A. I think book A is the first book that we have that's sitting over there. It says the commissioners met in regular session and presented before them was a petition filed by, John Book, to establish a macadam road, or to establish a road. And so it has a reference of when that project was started. And so as roads were improved, there was about a 5 to 7 step process to get those roads improved. And it's interesting, I kept seeing this word over and over again. It was petition to establish a free macadam road, or macadam, I think is what it is, free macadam road. And I know, what in the world is that? And it's MACADAM. And it's actually the name of a British engineer that came up with the method of the early chip and seal. And so there was basically 4 types of macadam roads. And so they were already doing it in Europe. And so we started the process of establishing a macadam road. And so it had his name because it followed the specifications that he came up with. And it was cutting edge engineering at the time. And it was basically, you prepared the bed. You had to go out and establish, a center line. You had to get plans and specifications. You prepared the road bed, and you created a slope so that it could drain. And then they put in aggregate stone, and then they compacted it. And then they used stone dust to bind it. And then the early ones were water bound. So they came in and they put water on it, and then the dust together with the stone, bound it together. And that was called a free macadam road. And that's how our roads were improved for, 100 years. And as time went on, then they came up with bituminous. And so we still bid bituminous, which is an oil-based product. And we use the bituminous to bind them. And that's where the chip and seal type road came from. But many of our roads are still, stone roads, and we do improvements for chip and seal roads. But so over time, in the commissioners' records, and as commissioners changed, as you can imagine, you may have commissioners in place for 1 term, 2 terms. You get a new auditor, you get a new surveyor, and so those records are not all exactly the same. They read a little bit different, but the process was similar. And so up until 1903. There was a place in process by law that said, in order to establish these roads or build these roads, here's the legal process that the county has to go through to get this done. And so it started off with a petition. It required a certain number of landholders that were adjacent to the proposed road file a petition in front of the Board of Commissioners. They would come in, the commissioners would have that in their minutes of their session. They would say, okay, we agree, we're going to do this road. Now, here's the process. We need 3 landholders to go out and observe the proposed area and determine what the width should be, determine what right-of-way should be, and report back to the commissioners. And so they would do that, and then they'd come back to the commissioners, and then there'd be another record where those appointed individuals would come back and report. And then the commissioners would say, okay, well, we're going to do the project. And then they would have an engineer, and be the county surveyor or whoever they had, go ahead and draw up plans. And so they draw up plans, and then they come up with an estimate to build the road. And then they publish notice, and they'd actually have a hearing. And so in some of the records, we have found where there's the actual publication notice in the newspaper. Now, not in all of them. Why it's not in all of them, I don't know. But it's there in a lot of them. So they published notice. I am certain that every single road that we have in the county followed a legal process for those roads to be constructed. Okay, it's a matter of us being able to find those records. And those records were not indexed very well, and they're hard to find. And we have an index, but most of those roads were referred to based upon the last name or based upon the name of the individual that carried the petition. 150 years later, we don't know. That's not how, it wasn't referenced like County Road 100 West back in 1862. It was the John Booth Road. Okay, well, so now try to find those roads. Well, it's pretty difficult. And so anyway, we've gone through indexes and tried to locate those things. But in large part, most of those roads were established and they set out a 40-foot right of way. In some instances, I've seen as low as 30 foot, not very many, but I've seen a few that say 30, saw one that said 32. But that's how that was done. And it's in those records. And so when you fast forward to today, years ago, I don't know if anybody remembers Frank Blackburn. Frank Blackburn, I don't know if he was a surveyor, but he was our county plat book technician for.
He was a registered surveyor.
Was he? Okay, I thought so.
Lead engineer also.
So he was here county plat book technician for decades
Long time.
and very thorough. He knew what he was doing. He set upon himself, and I'm sure the commissioners approved, but to go back into these commissioner records and try to set out kind of an index of all of our county roads and county road right of way. Well, it took him years. He got about 2/3 of them or 3/4 of them, but there were records that he just couldn't find. Does it mean that those records don't exist? Absolutely not. They're there. It's a matter of finding them. And so it's taken this long. Had we done a scanning project 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't be able to locate what we want to locate. But now with the imaging, that I've reviewed, it's much better. And with the AI enhancement, it actually enhances it so that you can read it better. And being able to get that better clarity, now you can actually digitize it and then now do searches on it. So it now gives us the opportunity to have a window into the past, and we can type in key terms and we can create our own index now, and we can find those records and then make, permanently image those records for each road. This is a question that is important for all 92 counties in the state of Indiana. There's some counties that don't have those records anymore. We're fortunate that we do. And so when it comes along for permits, for right of way, you've got over the years, obviously back in 1862, you didn't have telephone poles going down the road. You didn't have buried gas lines. You didn't have a lot of those utilities. You didn't have phone lines. You didn't have a lot of those utilities. Over time, though, those utilities have come about. It's in the public interest for development. I don't even have to say what it means because And so utilities that wanted to do work and put utilities within the county's road right of way would come to the commissioners. They'd get a permit and they'd have plans and they'd say, here's where we're going to put it. And then the commissioners would say, okay, here's your permit to locate utilities within our right of way. And that's been done in every single county for, the last 100 years or more. And so, and it's important. And so now where we're at, we've got new things that come along. We didn't have fiber. Fiber's been going in the ground for 30 years or more. But now it's very important. And that's what connects, provides connectivity between cell towers and, data centers and local connections all over. And so the commissioners get, we hear all the time, we want better broadband, we want better internet out in the county, we want connectivity. In order to make that happen, you got to be able to get this fiber in the ground for communications. So it has a huge public benefit and interest. And so when you go along with the permitting now and you issue a permit, and then you've got somebody says, well, wait a minute, where's the records that show the county actually have right of way on this road? In some instances, we have difficulty finding it. Does it mean that it doesn't exist? Absolutely not. You know, there's no way that the county, you know, commissioned roads, appointed individuals to go out and survey it, develop plans and specifications, have a hearing, then they issue bonds to pay for it, and then they construct the road, and then they report back. All that stuff is in the records. I mean, it was a tedious process. And so it's a matter of us being able to go back and locate those records, fill in any gaps that we may have, so we can say, here is our system of roads. And so I'm hopeful, I mean, and it's good that at least now we can search that database and we can go back and find those records. I've spent hours, Brad has spent more hours up going through records, trying to locate some of our old right of way. And it's absurd. And a lot of them, you can't find. It's literally trying to find a needle in a haystack. Because the other thing is, these roads weren't all built at the same time. They build a mile and then they'd skip a couple miles. Then they build 2 miles and then they skip. And it's just, and then they connect the dots over time. And we're spanning decades.
So you're thinking this is a good idea?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I guess I'm just happy the technology is here now. And so it's important to, at least from a county's record standpoint, to preserve what we have. We're fortunate what we have. We need to preserve it. We need to have a tool to access it. The other thing that, you know, I'm still working on, but I'd like to get, you know, Matt Lehman, Travis Holdman involved if possible, Indiana Association of Counties, other counties that have same issues going on. This is something that screams for legislation, in my opinion. Something that says if a county can show that a road's been in existence for the last 40 years or last 50 years, then there is a right of way, which is no less than 40 feet in width, or no bigger than an established right of way that can be observed in the field. And most of you know, if you want to know where the county's road right of way is, all you got to do is look for the utility poles, okay? Or at least where the county believes it is and the electric company thinks it is. You look at the utility poles because they're set right back at the edge of that right of way. And almost every road, those poles are about 20 foot off the center line of the road. So it was a 40-foot right of way. And that's where it's at. Now, utilities that have been in place for more than 20 years, they can come in and replace infrastructure, but it's only for them. They can't grant their ability to replace their power lines to the fiber company or to the phone company. It only applies to their utility. So when we have a new utility that comes and wants to put improvements in for the public benefit, then we've got to look at our right-of-way records. And in some cases, we have some patches and holes, and we want to be able to fill those things in. So the legislative process is obviously will take, who knows, a long time. And we need to do something sooner if possible. I'm hopeful that this will get that done. And so that pertains in particular to the commissioner's records. The other project, plat book, again, when you're talking about deeds, transfer history, all that stuff is vitally important. It's not cheap, but preserving those records is vital. Because, you know, now we're talking about ownership of property and historical records of that. And you got to be able to find those records. We have those, but again, they're deteriorating, and over time it'll be harder and harder to, you know, access those. And God forbid you have a fire or something and you lose them. So anyway, it's an important project. Glad we have the technology now to make it happen. So,
And I would say on the pricing, Josh would have to tell us, you know, there's obviously nothing budgeted for it. But sometimes companies can pay half, you know, after you budget.
Mhm.
Ways to work some of that out. And you quoted this as 3 separate projects.
Mhm.
So they could do one at a time, they could do all three over a
Yep.
period of time, whatever, however they would choose to do that. So that's a possibility as well. I don't know if Mike, Brad, or Steve had anything further to add, because you all were involved and saw this at the beginning as well, and Mike particularly as plat book technician. If you have anything to say on any of that.
Yeah, Mike has a lot of background
Well,
knowledge on it.
Yeah, I think I could repeat everything that Mark just said. Only on graded books and road right of ways, road books up there. When they improved US 27, 116, whatever, we have all the plat files that I've been asking our county surveyors, or not county surveyors, the registered land surveyors in the county. What would they like to see done with them? And they all want that scanned, and if we could make it available online. There's the US Indiana Department of Highway has a historian that can research a lot of these old things, but it can take months to find what you want, what we have up there in the drawer.
So ultimately, if I read correctly, then, we do this, we would have a backup copy. You would also have a backup
Correct.
copy.
Correct.
And then does that mean you also have a backup copy? I mean, right now you would be scanning existing material and documents that are here. Going forward, do those scanned copies also go to you to have a backup for that as well? Or are we on our own on that?
Yeah, they can, as that really is only gonna apply to the plat books, because those are the ones being updated constantly. The transfer books, I don't know if they're still making transfer books, like physical transfer books, or if those books are now all digital. But we have counties that FTP us data that we can then take and add to the existing drive that we have in our secure vault. So we can add things to that and keep up on the backups. We do a lot of backup for a lot of counties that we've done projects for. So that is definitely a possibility. And that's not something that you've already paid for the drive, because the drives are listed in the pricing. So it's just adding data to an existing drive, so that there's no like ongoing fee for that. The only ongoing fee would be if we fill that hard drive, and now there's another hard drive that needs to come into place, but the pricing is there in the proposal on what that would be. So for the drive.
And then if we say yes to all of this, they just mentioned there's 3 different projects. Is there any type of discount for say go ahead and do it all? And then paying it all right up front? I mean, like what's that look like?
Yeah, so the pricing that I've given you guys on this is our what we call reseller pricing. So it's 20% off of our rates, our retail rates. So I've already discounted at 20%. We work in stages. So if you look on the proposal, you'll see there's like a stage 1, there's a stage 2. You can work within the framework of those stages. So you can say, hey, for these projects, I want to start on stage 1 this year, and let's do stage 1, and that's the capture piece. Then you can say, next year, I'm going to budget for stage 2, and let's do stage 2. There's no financing, there's no interest, there's no nothing like that. We just hold in a pattern, in a holding pattern until you say, go on this. Then we pull the data back out, and then we start working on it at that point. So it's very flexible on how you want to work it. As far as the discount's already there. You pay up front. We don't really kind of do anything like that. Like if you pay up front, you get a discount or anything like that. It is, the pricing is what it is on there. And that's kind of where we go from there. So.
Again, just to restate, we would be responsible for integrating this into our online
Correct.
accessibility and searches, right?
Yep.
Okay. Have we researched that at all?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Commissioner.
Say again, I'm sorry, I missed that.
This would be scanning and indexing, right? But no integration into online accessibility and searches.
I don't believe we researched that at all.
Okay.
That, again, that's on us to figure
Do we
that out.
know who to contact for that, or can we do that?
Our IT department
Okay.
does research that.
Okay.
The same way our GIS records are available remotely, I would think that Ethan could help us figure out how we open and access them, as Tony said, in a read-only type of situation where you can access them but not write to them. I guess I just wanted to speak quickly. I've been involved in a lot of scanning projects, and many of them not been very happy with. This one, when I looked at the output, I looked at the way they were, the technology has come so far in the last 10 years that they actually end up, the digital production is better than the original. It's more easily readable. It's searchable. I really appreciate the fact that it's searchable with readily available software, and we don't get tied into some kind of a long-term software piece of proprietary software. That's the only way we can research this stuff with Adobe Acrobat. Everybody's got access to Adobe Acrobat, and it's going to be here long after we're all gone. So I won't worry about that access thing. When I think about records, I think about retention, ability to keep the records and not lose the records in the event of catastrophe. I also think about research capabilities. You know, some records we don't really research, but we want to make sure we retain those records. So in my mind, I kind of have to look at, okay, is it just a retention issue? If it is, we're talking about creating a long-term record storage area that's well lit and easily accessible and appropriate fire protection and those kind of things in kind of the new world, the new building. So when I think about strictly retention, that's kind of one thing, but the ability to research and access these records and search and the search capabilities that I saw were just fantastic. So from my perspective, when I looked at the demos, it was like, I've seen enough. We just need to make this happen. You know, I don't really, you know, from the commissioner's books and the council books, the road books, I know we get into those a lot, need to have access to those. I'm not exactly sure the access need for each one of the different types of records. But I was so impressed with what these guys can do, enhancing those records and making them available and researchable. It was an easy decision for me, and it's not going to get any cheaper. These records can just continue to deteriorate.
Looks like there's a lifetime warranty on it, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if any of the work that we do, we give you a guarantee that if for any reason in the future, at any time in the future, you're not happy with it, we fix it for forever. So if there's images that need to be rescanned, because I will promise you this, with hundreds of thousands of pages, there will be little things that happen during the course of the project that need to be fixed. Anyone that says they can do this 100% perfect the first time, they can't. It's just it's a numbers game. But, you know, we have access to the data. We back up the data. It says in the proposals that this data is the property of Adams County. We don't sell, we don't redistribute. This is Adams County's data. It maintains ownership. But we do store backups because we know that we're going to need eventually to make corrections. And so we need access to those records. But we provide a basic free backup for you in our secure vaults that are climate controlled. The data is taken off of our server onto a portable hard drive and put in our vault that only certain people have access to. So it is protected at that point. And we pull the drives out and we migrate the data to different drives every so often to make sure that it's not sitting on a hard drive that's 10 years old. So we monitor that and maintain that as well. One other thing I want to say as well is like this technology to be able to do what we would do to these handwritten books. This technology is a year and a half old. So it's literally, we've put 3 years of research and development into making this happen. This does not exist anywhere else. Like the ability and the accuracy that we can transcribe the handwritten language it's revolutionary. And so this type of
I
project.
guarantee that doesn't look anything like that in that book.
Right. Yeah, well, there's 16.7 million colors in that book. You know, our eyes can't see it because we just, you know, they're limited. But there's 16.7 million colors. And in order to do this transcription, you have to have all those colors. If you're doing it off a black and white image or a grayscale image, grayscale is only 256 colors. So when you take it from 16.7 million to 2, I mean, think of how much data is gone at that point. So our software, and we've been doing this for years, since 2006, the enhancement software has been around. But the ability to give you this quality of image, plus give you the backups of the color images as well, it's something that the county will be able to have forever. And the technology is the best it's ever been. Our scanners are custom made in Europe. Like we are on top of everything in the latest and greatest scanner manufacturers. We're beta test site for 15 scanner manufacturers around the world. They send us the equipment, we run it through testing, we give them feedback, we either buy them or we don't. So, I mean, we've had Bookeyes, we've had Indus, we've had Zoyschels, we've had all these different things. The equipment we have right now is the greatest. We've scanned the Louisiana Purchase. We've scanned handwritten records written by Christopher Columbus in the 1400s for the Bull Family Chapel in State College, Pennsylvania, so that they could translate into English. The quality is the best. It just is.
And I will say Mike Brown was watching this when we originally did it, and he was impressed. He said, I think he actually said he's never seen anything of that quality before. Bob Hakes has been involved as well, and with the Adobe Acrobat, we can get done with IT what we need to get done for this to be what he's talking about here. I wonder, Josh, just quickly, if you could explain to council on the funding of this. When you say stage one, what 3 stages in each project?
There's 2 stages in some projects, 3 stages in other projects, depending.
So if you're talking, okay, stage 1 looks like what? How long? And then you wait for us to say stage 2. What does the funding look like on each of those stages according to the scope of the contract?
Yes. So stage 1 is going to be the initial scanning. It's going to be the piloting. So every different doc type that we do, our production manager is going to sit down with somebody from that department, and they're going to work to provide a proof of concept right up front and say, hey, this is what this project is going to look like at the end. Are you happy? Is Mike happy with it? Is anybody that's, working on this project, are you happy with the way this looks right now? Because this is the way this is going to be at the end of the project. So we will pilot it. Once that pilot is approved, we convert all the data from color to black and white. Then we send you the stage 1 drive. The stage 1 drive is going to have all of the color images and the raw converted black and white TIFF images initially. Then the invoice gets sent. Once you get the data in your hands, then you get the invoice for the work that we just did. So you're always getting to approve it. You're always getting to look at it before you have to pay for it. So once that approval happens, then we can be in a holding pattern for whatever amount of time, or you can say, yep, Josh, let's move ahead on this. I'm ready for stage 2.
So let's say we said, do it, and you started tomorrow, and there was no pauses. How long did this take?
I think for this project, you're looking at, for the commissioner's records, probably up to 6 months. I think for the auditor's records, probably up to a year, because there's the volume of that. The surveyor's records, probably like 6 months as well. So they would run.
Be consecutive in a row, or do it at the
like
same time?
concurrently. So it would be, 6 months. Yeah, a year tops. Yep.
I've got a couple questions. One, just to make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying that they can scan in that cursive writing, understand it, and make it searchable. So then, second question is, I guess not for you, but I guess that's more for commissioners and department heads. To me, 50% of the value here is the public having access to it. So I guess I would just want to make sure that we don't skip that step. That would really need to happen, and hopefully that wouldn't be a huge amount of money. You're just making the data available somehow. But that would feel kind of important to me. So I mean, do you guys feel comfortable that can happen without being another 100,000 or something? I know you don't know the answer to that, but I mean, do you have a gut feeling that we can do this?
What did Mike say during that process, Steve?
I don't recall Mike addressing that question.
Because I think he and Bob said something like the Adobe Acrobat will handle a lot of that. As far as people searching, it's like somebody said, it's kind of like the GIS thing where they can get in and search it, but they can only read it. They cannot make changes on it. And it didn't seem to me that Mike or Bob thought that would be expensive or difficult.
It seems like
Corey, I agree with you. I think that's a lot of the value in being able to do this. So it would be, I think, our intention to pursue that aggressively.
Okay.
On on the auditor's part, I would like to get a hold of Doss Hop and see if they can't integrate something with, since my record's over there and they work somewhat together. See
Yeah.
if there's not a way they couldn't add that to their site.
However that looks, we need to do that preferably, so it's the same all the way through, the same process for anybody that's online. My other question then would be, I feel like we've been talking about scanning for several years, and I feel like we asked the question back then about, is there any other scanning to do? And is there any other scanning to do? I mean, we break it apart, so now ultimately we have a couple of different processes here, or a couple of different methods that we've used. I feel like we need to evaluate that, and if we go this route, then
We asked the same question, Fred, and the
Step in the
answer
right
came back, no, this is it. But I, something may come out of the woodwork, but I feel like that this is the least proprietary approach that I have heard. And I feel like that if something else comes along, we can continue this process and just pick it up where we left off at without adding another new vendor, another new solution, another piece of software that we have to think about. I feel like that this is a solution that we can build on, even if we don't get it all the first crack.
On the money side of it, this is probably gonna take some work, but I feel like there's a lot of funds that we have a hard time accessing. Like, we don't know we can't use the money, and this feels like there's gotta be some more creative ones that we haven't been able to access that we could use for this. I don't know if we've talked about where this is actually coming from, but I feel like there's gotta be some.
We would have to look into that to see what would qualify, what we could pay out, I do know that if there's money, there's a line in the commissioner's budget called preservation of records, which certainly doesn't have enough in there now, but that's where that money could be put and paid out of, because that makes perfect sense, preservation of records. But as far as what you're talking about, Glenn and I will look into that and see what.
so what do I mean, I personally am okay with going forward with this, but what do we need, if ever, that's my opinion. What do we need to do today are we voting on something today? Are we, what are we doing?
I think if you want Josh to get started, you could vote
We can do one of the three.
one project at a time. You could have him start with stage one on the first project, which is the Commissioner Council road books. You could approve all three over consecutive period of time. It's any of those numbers. I don't know how long the pricing.
Well, the cheapest
As
one is
you
the
go forward.
surveyors, so we could start that way. And
You can start with whatever you
figure-
want. I mean,
well, we can start that way, being the cheapest, and then figure out the funding.
Yeah.
It gives us more time for the higher valued projects.
I will say, again,
I would ask that you start with those commissioners and records, council commissioner records and road books. Those seem to be the ones that are causing us the most research headaches right now. And I think that we can get our biggest bang for our buck from a data research standpoint if we start with that data set.
Yeah.
If I could, absolutely, if I could speak to that regarding the road books,
It's not the most.
already brought up kind of the fiscal benefits of this. I'll take a project perspective, we're talking about the graphics and how it's done and technical, but from a money standpoint for you on, let's say, one specific road bridge project, and we're talking about possibly 4 parcels that adjoin that bridge. If we cannot document the right of way, when I schedule an application for federal funds, we're probably budgeting over $20,000 a parcel in duplicate appraisals, legal fees, and I'm also banking in a minimum of 12 months into the project with associated inflation. So if you can find the right of way that you already potentially have on these records, that disappears. 12 months in the schedule and upwards of like $80,000 to $100,000 that would be budgeted. That is other grant money, that was other state tax dollars that are getting eaten up in the process as well as your match. So not to bolster the excuse for your price, I'm not sure what your price is, but when you start to do that across the board, it's a significant savings. If we're trying to do a road project and we've got a mile of road and you are unable to document that right of way, you have to essentially, I've got to work on making sure that we incur
purchasing the right of way that you may already have. It's a duplication of expense. It's a waste of your taxpayers' money, and they don't understand why that schedule is delayed. You may have $1 million depending on the number of parcels. And if you have unwilling participants, then you're in the process of condemnation to proceed with the project. And I don't think anybody finds that favorable, but it may be a necessary byproduct of that. So
the commissioners' books.
the commissioners and road books have an almost immediate cost benefit.
I'll be honest with you, I mean, and looking at the general fund, it's pretty healthy right now. I'd be in favor of just approving it all and get it done in a year. That's
I
what
agree with that.
that's
I
what
think, I hate spending money, but at the same time, I do think this is gonna save money. Partly because of what you're saying, but ultimately, it's just manpower. Like, people are the most expensive thing that we have. And if we can automate something that we can now do in a couple of minutes as opposed to hours or days, we're not gonna see the cost right now, but with attrition, like, we can't just rehire positions when they vacate because we keep investing in technology that's making it faster. So, you know, 1 or 2 people that this eventually, we don't need that position anymore, is gonna pay for itself. So we gotta keep that eye out. But I'd say let's approve them all, but I don't know mechanically, because I really do wanna try and not just take it all out of county general. Like, if we can find
Yeah, we'll look for
lots of
that.
these
And,
places.
and then again, like Josh said, we don't get an invoice until what they've just done is approved and we tell them to move on.
So we could vote to approve the whole thing, but not vote for the additional to where it's coming from until you guys have done a little bit of research.
I would say you would vote to fund it with the contingency that we know we have it in county general. So we know that, and we could do an additional in preservation of records, no big deal. But yes, we will also look at other places where there might be funds to help pay for it.
There might be some grants you could also apply for.
There are a number of grants federally, because it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. There's a lot of federal grants for preservation, of historical records. And since the majority of these are all historical records, you may be able to look at, federal grants as well. There's a lot of them.
I want to speak to the efficiency where I think we're really gonna get our cost savings, because we house some of the records in Bern. I get called all the time. I don't know how many hours I've spent with Mike researching records that are down in Bern, or with Tony, or whoever, I'm up into the hundreds of hours of my time. Because I'm the one that has access to them from where I work to let them in and help them search. And I mean, there's somebody down there, quite often researching and doing records. And I think, just in that manpower savings of having to do that, where you can search them online, over a year or two will more than pay for this project.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve all the projects, all the stages. Approve that, and then the payment we won't get an invoice until they're done with some of this stuff, but while the auditor's office looks for a way that we're gonna pay for it, and we should reach out and research grants as well.
Starting with commissioners.
If this project takes over a
Yeah.
year, will we get an invoice next year? Something you budget for, we get the invoice this year?
We can budget for it going into 27 if we wanted to. We could put something in the budget, if we don't.
Whatever
Find
doesn't get
something
done.
beforehand.
Yeah, cause he said it's gonna take about over a year for all 3 stages, so is that,
But we'll
we
get something
now
this
or?
year, I say.
Okay.
But it would just get started now.
I agree with Fred on that, I mean,
So that's my motion, to approve all of them, all stages, and we'll figure out exactly where the payment's coming from.
With the direction to start with the commissioners first.
Sure.
Well, you can start with all of them, right? For
Yeah.
just, they said they could do concurrently, so.
Yeah.
I'll second Fred's motion.
And all of this is not contingent, but I guess just sort of commissioners, like, you guys think you can figure out a way to try and get this thing public?
Well, and I think what'll happen is if the council approves the funding, then the commissioners will only sign those contracts if we've identified the source. Yeah. So they can sign a contract, phase 1 commissioners records. But then not, sign the contract on the others until we either figure out exactly what fund you're using. Because we'll have, that in place.
I think we can go forward simply because there was enough in county general if we had to do it that way, which by the time the first stage is going and stuff, that'll give us time to look into grants, other funds, things of that nature.
We have a motion and a second to approve the issue before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, Mark, will commissioners have to approve the project at their meeting and this is the funding for it?
Yeah, we'll take the contracts, the proposals that we have, and I think we'll probably approve the first one.
Okay.
And that way that can get scheduled and get started. And then, again, investigate exactly what
Good thing
funds
is
you
they
will
do it
use.
all
and
here.
approve the
They don't take the
subsequent
next
ones. We'll have to, coordinate.
So
You
that's-
have a card
so
on
who-
you?
who
Yeah,
would be
I do have
responsible
one.
for looking
Uh,
into
keep-
grants? And is that gonna be you guys?
I mean, I know Nate's had some experience into grants and so forth. We'll have, I don't know. We'll
I
have
would
to
say
figure
we
something
should
out.
definitely look at the grant avenue and see how much we can get. It sounds like we might be able to get some money for that. And then like
Like if it's a
the
simple
most restrictive
grant,
accounts we
then that's
have,
good, but if it's one of
let's
those
pull from
complex
those.
ones, you need a grant, right?
and then general fund would be the last option.
Yeah. Might have to call Sean Hamrick on that grant.
I would like to add too, each one of those contracts, each one of the proposals has a travel and then per day fee. If the projects are done together, there's only one travel fee. There's not one for each project, because we're only traveling once.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, they're all approved.
So that would be, you would save money scanning them all together since we'd be down here with one trip. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to
we just approved all of them,
make that
so.
clear. So.
So do you understand what you're charged with now? The commissioner road books first?
Yep.
All three are approved. We're gonna look at the funding for the other two and figure that out as we go.
Yep.
But I think what he's saying, if I'm understanding, he's saying if he can just start them all at the same time.
Yeah, just do them
He
all.
doesn't have to charge us.
Whatever you
12.
need to,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
travel will be cheaper. It'll
however
be,
you need to do it.
Yeah, just start them all.
Okay.
I mean, obviously contingent upon the commissioners, but it sounds like
Yeah.
they're on board, so.
I just have to dig into my pockets and check.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank everybody. Appreciate it.
Maybe sure back up Sweetwater. He throws money around everywhere else.
Okay, fine.
I shot down on my travel down there in India. Sold for $1 cheaper to the city. Yeah.
Good morning. Shannon's gonna help me with this one. I have just one thing, that would be a proposed resolution establishing compensation for members of the Adams County Board of Health. Apparently, there have been numerous meetings and things that have been necessary for the board to start attending. They have not been getting paid regularly for that. It's been suggested that we have a recognized specific procedure for that, so this resolution would cover that. What it does include, apparently, council had, I believe it was the December meeting of 25, indicated that $60 a meeting would be what the health department, the health board gets paid. So that's in here. But we also need specific language addressing what a qualifying meeting would be. And I have proposed the following language to cover some of the things that have been necessary lately. Qualifying meetings shall be defined as any gathering of a majority of the board for purposes of taking official action, and any regular or special meeting attended by one or more members of the board in their official capacity, to include but not limited to hearings, work sessions, meetings of Adams County government bodies or committees, to include executive sessions or other special proceedings where the Board of Health input or representation is required. So that would be the basis for their getting paid for meetings. I further am noting in here or suggesting that payment for these meetings will include electronic means, provided they comply with the statutory mandates for what constitutes electronic participation. verification of attendance needs to be made by the auditor's office prior to issuing compensation. And I've suggested that the the health board department's administrative staff would be responsible for submitting documentation to the auditor within 7 days following the meeting. That is typically some minutes that note the attendance of the individual. And the resolution is being proposed to be backdated effectively January 1st of 2026 for purposes of covering a number of meetings that have already transpired, for which a number of members have not been paid. Did I miss anything, Shannon?
You say 60?
60, yes.
So I think what council passed was every meeting had to be at least 50.
Right.
Does that
Where
jive
did
with
60?
what we just did with some of the other boards? Like I know we just did the EPLA for 9.
LAPC, yeah. So that's what Julie Marie was saying, is that in December, y'all passed where the minimum stipend for a board meeting was $50 because they were kind of varied.
Those are the
But-
same stuff.
But health board has been 60 for years. But the what I've asked to be addressed in this is when that payment is actually made, because they've only historically been paid for the actual attendance to the board meetings. And I've probably had 20 meetings all in the last year with some of the board members. So they've taken the time to drive over here. You know what I mean? Like they've spent all that and they don't get paid for that. So I just wanted something to say that when there are special meetings that occur outside of the norm, that we would compensate them for that. I mean, there's been times when we've been together for 2 hours. And
That makes sense.
yeah. And I don't think it would be all the time. I mean, if you have a conversation for 20 minutes, then maybe not, but it would be Dr. Ainsworth's discretion because he's the one that would sign the claim for it. So that's what I've asked to be put in writing. Because the code, I asked Luke about the code and the code just says it's up to y'all basically when they get paid for it.
That's what you're doing here.
Just being seen, John.
But it doesn't like include every little conversation. I mean, I'm in a
No.
ton of them every
No.
month, but I'm not asking to be paid for them, but.
No, like we had an executive session, when was that? Probably a month and a half
We were
ago.
around a little after the first of the year, I
Yeah,
think.
and we were probably here for 90 minutes and the individuals, other than the 2 that are on payroll as their normal jobs, which this is not including them, the board members, they were not paid for that.
So is anything above and beyond your standard meeting that you used to have to come in
Yeah,
or something?
for the most part, yeah.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't know about anybody else.
And there wasn't anything in policy or
No, they were
ordinance,
fine.
resolution, anything.
Standardized
We looked.
everything. I'll make a motion to accept the new ordinance.
Oh, resolution,
Resolution.
resolution 1.
Second.
John and Lenny.
Thank you.
Have a motion before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. That is all I have today.
You want to do wage review now or? You want to do a new wage review?
I'm sorry.
Corey has some wage review stuff.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead, Corey.
Okay, wage review, we met yesterday because there was a lot going on, so we had an extra meeting yesterday. Pretty simple though, so I'll let Shannon jump in if I say anything wrong, but basically, the janitorial staff, like one of those positions is gonna switch to more of a maintenance position, and so we just had to categorize that. So we categorized it as a 6, which is any 6, which is the same as some other maintenance people that we have. So it's just approving that any 6 assignment. And the other one is the owner's representative position for the building project. We categorize that as a non-categorized position. And the idea there is that it would be up to 75,000 over the course of the project, with the contingent that the commissioners will put together a bonus structure of that 75. that would incentivize making sure the project gets done on time and under budget.
You're talking about project manager based there.
Yeah, it's like an ownership, yeah. So they would be the point of contact for the contractors and all that. So that's basically the way that we want to categorize both those.
And this is for what project?
Which one?
The
First one
judicial
or second one?
center.
The second one.
That's for the potential judicial project. So it's contingent on the project actually going forward, obviously. But we needed to categorize a position at least. So that was the categorization was facilities categorized as any six, owner's rep categorized as uncategorized, 75,000. But commissioners need to bring back to the wage review a proposal for how to incentivize out of that 75.
The 75,000 for a new position?
It'd be like a stipend paid over the course of the entire project. So if it takes 2 years,
So this,
stretched out basically.
this person would be, the owner's rep would be, as they're, you know, if it's approved to go forward, negotiating contracts with bids and working everything and the point of contact person through the entire project.
And this is for the courthouse?
For the courthouse, over the life of the courthouse,
And
or over the
you and I
life of the
talked to
project.
Bob the other day, Bob. This could be a person or persons actually that work here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be an extra.
So it could be a stipend on top of their additional, on top of their existing salary.
It's not a brand new full-time
It's not a
position.
position.
It's a new position in terms of like duties, but it's not like a full-time, we are gonna get another person in there for it.
This is just 75,000 one, that's all it is. And it's over the course of the entire project. And then when the project's over, it's gone.
Yes. I'm just questioning, who do we have qualified to negotiate these contracts? And
Not like,
That's what that's what the commissioners would try to hire someone to do that.
so it would be a new position.
You're just funding it, the commissioners would create it.
Yeah.
potentially, I guess.
It's not, yes, however, it's not like a new position in the sense that this is like a job that's here forever, right? It is
I think commissioners already have.
it is one-time position that this lasts until the project is over, and 75,000 is the max we pay out. So if this project takes a year or 3 years, that's it, 75 over the whole thing.
Steve, comment?
Yeah, I think what we're thinking is, again, this owner's representative would be in lieu of the commissioners having to make every decision, so we could allow this person to kind of be our eyes and ears and work with contractors. Certainly is not a full-time position. So if you assume the project is gonna take maybe up to 3 years from the time we begin to develop plans and specs through final punch list and completion, in our heads, maybe about $25,000 a year is kind of what we're thinking about. Up to $75,000 total for the work.
Essentially, you're just talking about a project manager.
We're talking about project
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
owner's representative, I think.
Didn't commissioners already approve
We have job
the
descriptions
owner's
been
rep and
approved,
job description?
right?
So they're just
Big
proving the
thing we
funding
talked about
portion.
yesterday in that wage review was that we wanted the commissioners to come up with, out of that 75 incentives, like a bonus for this person, inside of that 75, if we're done on time and we're on budget.
Good.
And so what that looks like, we wanted to let them decide that, but you know, is 10,000 of the 75 a bonus for that? Is it 20, like, how do you break that up?
They're already down to these minutes later.
And I know this is probably new to some of you guys, but we've been talking about how we manage a project of this size and this scope and this length without having an owner's representative. We just didn't feel like that it was possible for us to do it well.
So we need a motion to approve that?
You want to approve each of those separately, the custodian and then the owner's rep? You want to do them separately or?
I'll just make a motion to approve the custodian becoming more of a maintenance type person, although I'm sure we'll maybe still have some custodial duties. And then along with that, a stipend of $75,000 to essentially have a owner's rep, or to me, it's a project manager. A stipend over the course of the project, that would be the max amount. Should approve both of those.
And the categorization for the the maintenance is any six. Y'all are okay with that?
Yes.
Maintenance is NE6 and non-categorized for the owner's rep, right?
Yep.
Second.
So Fred and Corey. Fred and Corey made the motion in second.
Easy way to spend money.
But we find all kinds of ways to do that.
Okay, I have a motion before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
Steve, in the commissioners meeting on the custodian staff, if that's now an NE6 and it's gonna be called maintenance, do you guys have to do anything as creating that, or is that just,
There needs to be a job description.
I
wouldn't there?
mean, do you have a job description for that?
I don't. Do we have a job description yet for the maintenance person? So we're working.
So you guys will be doing that portion later. These guys just said they'll fund that as an NE6.
We're still talking a lot about how we manage the custodial duties of our buildings. I don't think that we've settled on that yet.
Get it in print.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were doing it right, or that I'm doing it right, actually. Okay, I'm ready for my order.
Any other discussions about the matter?
We still need to hear from the sheriff, right?
Sheriff, and then you have my transfer and salary ordinance also.
Make a motion to approve all transfers.
Okay, so we're doing the transfers. Fred is the motion. John? We have a motion second on the transfers.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
There.
I didn't see any additionals attached.
We don't have any additionals. Gateway doesn't even have the additionals, portal open yet.
Keep it that way.
Well,
We just approved some.
that could be a problem for the health department because all their budget's gonna have to be an additional from the state. Okay, we have one amended salary ordinance, and that is Macy Byerly, court reporter. We need a motion on that.
So moved.
Bob and Fred,
John, Fred, sure.
Bob and John,
Yeah, Bob and John.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion?
John, Bob.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Amen.
Okay, there.
Running
That,
through
then we'll
this.
pass them around.
You want Dan now?
Yeah.
Dan?
Good morning. I'm here to ask in kind of reverse order, just how the meeting's set up. This will be contingent on the commissioners, but I am asking for funding for 3 new court security personnel.
Second page.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, shoot.
Are the scanners
John,
within the budget?
then Bob.
John?
No.
Bob?
not me. That-
Oh, no. Actually, they're gonna have to be right now. No additionals
Additional
right now.
personnel.
Oh, the handheld? Yeah, that I have.
Okay.
Have a motion before us?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? I'm going through it.
Signed and then we're good. I'm done. I don't know if anybody has it. She does it. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Come to that appointed time in our meeting where we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
John and Bob. It'd be a lot easier if you guys just did all of it. That way I just know every time what it is.
Those in
See
favor?
if we can work out.
Approved by Stan.
Fine, sir.
All the way back home. Got 60 miles, right?
Trade you, I gotta go for a while.
Well, then I gotta go your way.
Then I